Hello friends! In this video we will walk around an unusual and little-known corner of Turkey, a small fishing town Eski Foca. You most likely have not even heard of this charming place on the shores of the Aegean Sea. After all, the southern coast of Turkey is more popular among our tourists, and the west coast, in my personal opinion, is chosen by more experienced travelers. The place where we now find ourselves has a history of almost 3,000 years. Surely you remember the ancient Greek myth about the beautiful sirens and the unfortunate sailors who heard the magical singing of these creatures and smashed their ships on the rocks. Most likely, you have also heard that there is a French city called Marseille, and you probably know what seals look like. Well, how is all this connected with Turkey and the place that will be discussed in this video? Let's figure it out. In the past, the city was known as Phocaea, and it got its name because of the seals that live on the islands around the city. Folk means seal in Greek. Yes, you heard right, seals live in Turkey. I was amazed at this fact myself when I first found out about it, but we'll talk about them a little later. The Eski Foca in its current incarnation has preserved the unique atmosphere of an ancient port settlement. Previously, the population of the city was predominantly Greek, and there are quite a lot of Greek houses that have been preserved for more than 100 years. There are also a couple of historical monuments testifying to the centuries-old history of this place. And all this is seasoned with stunning hilly landscapes and surrounded by the Aegean Sea. Eski Foca is a place where the past of the city is harmoniously intertwined with the present, and here you can not only relax but also immerse yourself a little in history, which was full of a variety of events and legends. A short historical digression for a couple of minutes to give you an idea of what an unusual place this really is. The history this places dates back more than 3 millennia, starting with the ancient Greek city of Phocaea, which was founded in the 11th century before Christ. This city was part of the Ionian Union and played an important role in the development of maritime trade and culture in the region. The Phocaeans were skilled sailors who founded numerous colonies in the Mediterranean, including the French city of Marseille. Phocaea experienced periods of prosperity and decay, being taken by the Persians, then was under the rule of Byzantium, and later the Ottoman Empire. During the Ottoman rule, the city became an important trading center due to its strategic location on the Aegean coast. In the 17th century, the city was one of the port cities of the Ottoman Empire connecting east and west. Persian silk was brought here through eastern and central Anatolia, from where it was shipped to England, Spain, France, and other European countries. European countries paid taxes to the Ottomans for using this trade route. Later, with the beginning of the use of the sea route through the Indian Ocean, the city lost its importance. Until the beginning of the 20th century, the city was mainly dominated by the Greek population, who as a result of the tragic events of those years, had to leave the western coast of present-day Turkey, and after them only these ancient stone houses in the Greek style remained in the city. The architectural style of the Greek houses of Turkey is a harmonious combination of local traditions and European influences. These houses, preserved in coastal cities of the west coast such as Ayvalık, Alaşehir, Foça, and Izmir, have become peculiar symbols of the historical interaction of Greek and Turkish cultures. Greek houses are distinguished by symmetrical facades, and were mostly built of stone, much less often of wood. The facades of such houses are often decorated with decorative elements, including carved wooden details and stucco molding, which gives the buildings elegance and individuality. The doors of such houses are massive, made of wood, often decorated with carvings and can be surrounded by decorative stone frames. I really like to look at the doors of such houses. They usually pay special attention to them and try very hard to decorate them. Doors can be found in a variety of options, and usually everything depended on the prosperity of those living in the house. The richer the family was, the more elegantly the front door was decorated. Greek houses in Turkey often have courtyards where flower beds, fountains, and small gardens are located. These spaces serve as a place for family gatherings and recreation. The architectural style of houses in Turkey is a unique example of how Greek aesthetics and Turkish culture can merge, creating buildings that are both functional and beautiful. These houses continue to attract the attention of both locals and tourists, preserving the memory of the rich cultural heritage of the region. Now, in the old houses, which are closer to the center and to the embankment, there are various kinds of businesses, nice hotels, restaurants, and bars. Being in a fishing town, it is impossible not to tell about the local fishermen. Fishing in the Eski Foca is not just a profession, but a real way of life, passed down from generation to generation. Local fishermen go to sea in such boats from the very early morning to bring fresh catch to the morning market. Fish can be sold right on the pier. They will immediately clean and pack it for you. But the bulk of the fish, of course, are sold at the local market. They catch a wide variety of fish, from sardines and greyhounds to octopuses and squid, providing the city with fresh seafood every day. Fishermen's catches often become the basis for dishes of local restaurants, where you can try fish caught just a few hours ago. Despite the development of tourism in the city, fishing continues to be an important part of the local economy. Since we have touched on tourism, here I will tell you about one of my most favorite options for a sea holiday in Eski Foça, and in general in Turkey. These are boat trips. I really love boat trips in the Eski Foça, and they occupy a special place in my heart. First of all, because this route passes among the most beautiful islands and rocks. And secondly, because these islands and rocks are shrouded in mysticism and mystery. There is an assumption that the famous Iliad and Odyssey were composed by Homer on the Asian coast of ancient Greece, inhabited by Ionian tribes, that is, on the current western coast of Turkey. And there is a possibility that the plot of the myth of sirens and sailors just originated off these shores. A boat trip takes place among the islands surrounding the Eski Foça. Sailing through them and watching all this beauty is just amazing. The ship makes several long stops at some of the islands. During these stops, you can swim, dive from the ship, and sunbathe on the upper deck. The names of the islands are interesting in my opinion. There are Goat Island, Rabbit Island, and Donkey Island. As you understand, they are named after the inhabitants of these islands. There is also a useless island. Here, the name also speaks for itself. Probably the locals have not found a use for this island. There is also the island of Pita. Apparently this name is due to the fact that the shape of the island resembles a flatbread. It is forbidden to set foot on these islands around the Eski Foça. You can only admire them from the water. Those who violate this rule face a large monetary fine. I do not know the exact reasons why such a restriction applies in the Eski Foça, but I think it was established in order to preserve nature and protect the inhabitants of the islands. One of these inhabitants is the Mediterranean monk seal, which I mentioned earlier. I didn't get to see it with my own eyes, but I'll show you the video that the tour organizer sent. To meet a seal in the Eski Foça is a great luck, in fact, because there are not many of them left and they mostly hide from people. So, press the like button if you also didn't know that seals are living not only in the Arctic. The main feature of a boat trip in Eski Foça is the Sirens Rocks. Ancient myths and legends hover around them. According to ancient Greek mythology, it was here that sirens lived. Magical creatures whose enchanting songs lured sailors, causing them to go off course and crash off a cliff. These rocks have a very unusual shape, and there is a theory saying that the wind blowing on these rocks at a certain angle just created sounds that seem to sailors to be the beautiful singing of sirens. But personally, I hardly believe in such a theory because someone would have already recorded what kind of sounds it was. There is another version of the origin of this myth, and to be honest, I like it more because it can somehow be shifted to reality. Someone suggested that the sailors who returned from long voyages actually saw not beautiful sirens but seals, who were chilling on these rocks, which in principle can explain where the mythical sirens got a fishtail. And the cries of seals distorted by the wind, the sailors could easily mistake for the beautiful singing of sirens. Well, how wonderful can the OR of seals be? Then Homer's fantasy has worked, and so these mythical creatures were born. I do not pretend to the reliability of said above, but in my opinion this is the most logical and plausible version of the origin of this myth. The Sirens Rocks themselves are simply fabulous. The shapes are unique. I have never seen anything like this in my life. Nature certainly never ceases to amaze. One of the ship's stops was just in the bay behind these rocks, and everyone was swimming and sunbathing. I liked this stop the most, just because of the views of the Sirens Rocks. Plus, we stopped in such a beautiful bay, with such a beautiful rock on the shore. Well, and because the captain of the ship lit the grill. After a couple of moments, meat, fish, and Turkish cutlets called kefti were already roasting on the grill. Lunch on the ship was simply gorgeous. Everything turned out very tasty, and, for me, there is nothing better than food cooked with a fire. After this stop, there were a couple more islands we also swam and sunbathed, and so on until the evening. In one word, it was just cool. I really enjoyed the whole trip. If you live in Izmir or find yourself here as a tourist, I highly recommend trying this tour. Well, you and I will dock back to the shore and take a look at a couple more attractions. On the hill at the entrance to the city there are ruins of old mills. At one time they played an important role in the economy of the city along with fishing. There is nothing special to watch and talk about the mills anymore. They just create a cool entourage and contribute to the appearance of the city. You can only go up to them to take a couple of photos as a keepsake. Another historical monument is the Beş Fortress, which can be translated from Turkish as 5 gates. Only a part of the fortress wall with towers has survived to this day. The fortress is one of the sites for mandatory visits. There is a footpath on the outside of the fortress, and I really like to walk along it at sunset. And if you go around the wall and go inside the fortress, then it offers spectacular views of the Aegean Sea and the surrounding hills. In addition to this, some antiquity and ruins have been preserved inside. Eski Foca can be divided into 2 parts, the historical heart and a more modern area, which is located behind the fortress. There is a city beach and a wide promenade, which is also nice to walk along after a walk through the historical center. Along this embankment, you can access one of the more beautiful beaches than an ordinary city beach, and there a panorama opens from the cliffs covering the city, the sea, and the surrounding hills. I went there to meet the sunset at the end of the walk. When the sun goes down and the city is filled with the soft light of lamps, the Eski Foça, in my opinion, becomes even more cozy. At this time, numerous restaurants and cafes are filled with tourists. On the streets, you can hear the sounds of music coming from local bars, where musicians play both national melodies and modern compositions. The nightlife in Eski Foça, in general, does not differ in some kind of crazy rhythm, as in the popular resorts, but this is exactly the beauty and charm of this place. In conclusion, I will tell you a local legend. Legend says that in the Eski Foça, a large black stone is hidden somewhere underground. Karatash. Whoever passes over this stone will definitely return to Foça to stay here. I don't know if I passed over that stone, but judging by how many times came back to Eski Foça, I definitely passed by somewhere near to it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please subscribe, press a like button, and leave a comment. I also invite you to watch other videos on my channel. The links will now appear on the screen. Well, I say goodbye to you until we meet soon on new travels.